Fisto, my friend, are you alright? Here, let me help you to your feet. I fisted hard, He-Man, but I could not fist them all. Poor Fisto, not because he failed at fisting, but because fisting is literally his whole gimmick. That's his brand, his purpose, his LinkedIn headline. Man woke up every day ready to fist any asshole who crosses him, but yet he couldn't get the job done. What's up, Doc? I'm Pugs Bunny, and we're diving fist first into the goofy, absurd, and the downright bananas comic moments writers were able to publish. In the first video, I showed you this abomination of a vegetable, but today, we're going even deeper. It's time to peel back the layers and meet the man, or carrot, behind the madness. Meet the flaming carrot. Any guesses on how he became this way? Go ahead. There aren't any wrong answers, unless your answer isn't right, because whatever you guessed is way off. Trust me. This was once a poet, who, because of a bet, read 5,000 comics in one sitting. Apparently, binge reading comics can literally melt your brain and turn you into a sentient crew de tase. The writer would describe him as simple. So in his first adventure, we meet a gang of weird little sock-headed goons stealing from the largest comic book collector in the world. And by largest, they mean 324 pounds. The mastermind behind the sockheads? The Red Dyke. That's her actual name. She's a purposely offensive communist stereotype who hates the 1955 comic code because in her mind, taking the brain rot comics off the shelves would aid in turning America into a respectful nation. And based off the carrot's fate from reading so many comics, I can say she's not exactly wrong. Prove my point, we see Carrot looking at the pictures in a newspaper because he can't read anymore, and he would notice comics were going missing, and would leap into action, but would almost immediately forget what he was doing. He would, though, notice the sockheads, and he would follow them, hop on their truck, and fall asleep. Hours later, he would wake up thirsty. Not a heroic thirst for justice, but just dehydration. On the quest for water, Carrot would come across these water-headed alien-looking reading the comics. These were once Soviet scientists, and RD would inject them with taco extract, blessing them with telepathic powers. Using these powers, they would project the brain rot they were reading to the masses of America. RD would be monologuing all this, and Carrot's journey for water had led him to the rafters above. After hearing her speech, he falls asleep, and then immediately falls from the rafters on top of a couple goons. This is where it gets real, y'all. They made the fatal mistake of laughing at him. Quoting the comic, superpowers are a lot of whole crumb and blabber. Flaming Carrot fights with one true solution: massacre and slaughter. Carrot pulls the straps. Bang, bang, you're dead. He would yell while committing vitamin A rated war crimes, because none of these goons are armed. And once out of ammo, Carrot would pull out a banana peel and use it to kill the last goon. No one would survive aside from RD and her telepathic taco team. But that's just the beginning. He'd be a founding member of the Mystery Men, who got their own movie, but since Hollywood was scared of repeating what Howard the Duck became, Carrot was completely cut. And I'm sure it was deeper than bad CGI, because you could throw a prosthetic on a guy and light it on fire. It's not that deep. Now, let's talk about his pet. Superman has Crypto, Batman has Ace and a cow, even the Flash has a turtle named Merton. But the Flaming Carrot, he has a pork chop eating oven mitt. And here he is profiling a guy who kind of looks like a banana. What does she mean? Kind of. This guy is straight up a Musa sapien. If you've seen that one episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog, then you know to side-eye any banana who crosses you. Now this next one is a rare moment. The Flaming Carrot actually gets scared of a spider wearing a diaper. That's his biggest fear. And check out his rogues gallery. You've got the Man in the Moon, Ant Claw, Goofy Crowbone, who's just a normal guy, and the Poser. Batman wishes his enemies were this terrifying. The Joker could never. But before we move on to the next segment, you have to see this diagram. His flame, controlled by a flap on his head. His chest contains a speaker that whispers the secret of the universe and racetrack tips. And he's got a sock for catching goons, plungers, Polish pistols, flippers for swimming, and a nuclear-powered pogo stick that appeared as a Jeopardy question. His utility belt has everything you could ever need, from Pez to band-aids with little stars and rockets. Oh yeah, he teamed up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but that crossover deserves its own video. And speaking of the TMNT, they are not safe from goofy moments either. Yeah. Why aren't you wearing pants? He's a turtle. He rocks a half shell. He doesn't need pants. But do you know who did wear pants? Hitler. Yeah, stick with me. This is relevant. So time travel is nothing new, especially in comics. Everyone's trying to go back in time to prevent an apocalypse or forward to cause one. But these ripple effects change the course of history. But our red boy Ralph takes it upon himself to punch Hitler straight in the cheek meat. No multiverse, no paradox, just shell meets mustache. Just shell meets oh my goodness. That was kind of hard to say, I'm not gonna lie. Now, even mutant turtles can have existential crisis. Well, everyone but Donnie, a turtle of science, too smart for emotions. So Mikey being Mikey hits him with the, "Wait, you read the Bible?" And Donnie, cold as ever, goes, "I read everything, Mikey. The Quran, your diary. You need help, bro." Okay, I made that last bit up. It's 100% up the TMNT alley though. So let's put our sights on the time they opened this extra dimensional portal. Mikey would just carelessly stick his grubby little hand through the portal and starts filling up what he describes as a very angry gargoyle. But actually, it's Batman. And you should know what happens next. Like, what do you think Batman does when face to face with an animal? That's right, he punches Mikey straight in the face. Welcome back, folks, to Batman's Animal Abuse Round 2. Oh yes, we're back, baby. Last time, Batman's crimes against the animal kingdom barely scratched the surface. This man's out here with bat hands for any off-leash pets in the proximity. When he was pursuing a goon, Batman gets jumped by a large dog. Most of us would run or die, but Batman, nah. He offers man's best friend a treat, a nice, juicy knuckle sandwich. Fed him so good, the dog took a nap mid-bite. Somewhere Alfred's shaking his head like, "Master Bruce, please stop punching the wildlife." Next up is Batman boxing yet another gorilla, but this time, he has a name, Carmack, and he comes strapped with a bomb vest. Why not? It's definitely a step up from a regular gorilla. Only in comics could a gorilla become a terrorist. But what about bears, you ask? Oh my, Batman squared up with one of them too. He gave that grizzly a grisly beatdown after he was turned into a 10-year-old, almost like if it was a dark, gritty reboot of The Jungle Book. Then we've got a Christmas special, where Dr. Zen Zen tried to make Gotham forget Christmas, causing an illusion of a bear to attack Batman on a Christmas tree, really putting the Christmas and Christmas massacre. Before, we spoke on Batman choking out big cats. Well, here he is, aura farming like hell, taking on 2 tigers at once. Which leads me to the time he took on a 600-pound Siberian tiger named Rasputin. And I do have to mention that Catman stole his utility belt for this fight, but raw fists were enough to overthrow this Russian beast. With how many cats he's beaten over the years, the man's got a type. This one is every bovine's worst nightmare. Batman, Matador of Mayhem himself, uses his cape to lure this bull in, then plants a king-size Sunday punch right on T-Bone's noggin. Holy cow? Fits perfectly. And let's wrap this segment up the same way Batman did to this poor bird, by wrapping it up in a cape and slamming it against a wall. Actually, wait, hold up. He used to use impaled bats as a call sign of criminals. That's the most unhinged thing I've ever seen Batman do. Not even the animal he was inspired/traumatized by is safe. Imagine giving this version of Batman superpowers. Well, imagine no longer. Good boy, Robin. It's working. That should hold him there. So you're probably wondering how we got here. It's because Superman has poor hygiene. And I'm not even kidding. He, barehanded, would redirect a comet that was hurtling towards Earth on his way to help Batman. The point of contamination happens right here, after Superman shake hands with an ungloved bat hand. This would eventually cause a chain reaction where Batman would randomly grow really tall and lanky and immediately began spewing green foam that would dissolve anything it touches on buildings and bridges. Superman would try his best to stop that, but he was able to outfly Superman. And then he would come to with no memory. But a little time later, Batman shrinks and his body compresses like an aluminum can, keeping the straightest face I've ever seen him have. He began bat-sawing up Gotham, slicing a Confederate statue and a tree before Superman was able to catch him like a rogue frisbee. This is when we see the panel I started the segment with, Robin sticking Batman to a crane until he went back to normal. They would encounter one of the goons they were pursuing, and the crackhead would have kryptonite, but it didn't affect Superman this time, but rather Batman. Look how happy he is about it. What a luxury this is. How many times I've dreamed I could perform this little feat. At this point, Batman had figured it out. Superman's unclean paws had transferred his powers to Batman after fondling that comet. But still somehow keeping his powers though, just not his weakness, I guess. Later, the effects would wear off and would leave me with more questions than answers. What? What the fuck? Why did the comet do that? Does Superman have all these random powers? Well, I might be able to shine a little light on that. Superman's powers are iconic, right? Laser vision, freeze breath, super strength, time travel. Wait, what? When could he time travel? Well, this was a power he used to have whenever he wanted to quit his job or find the origin of a fairy tale. He could literally do it at will, whenever he wanted to. But if you want a real fairy tale, you could take his old power of being able to send a mini version of himself from his hands, which could use all the same powers he had. This little guy may have never appeared because he saved Superman by sacrificing his life by riding a ball of kryptonite into the sea. A sad ending for the bite-sized Superman. And the glasses he wore, you know, the hypno glasses, they were pointless as well because he has hypno powers. He just used the glasses to amplify that power so no one could really identify him as long as, you know, they're like looking at him. And to make the previous power completely pointless, he could face shift. Having the mastery of muscle manipulation, he could change his face at will to look like anything or anyone he wanted to. And if you think those were some useless powers, you need to look at these guys. If I were to ask you who had the worst or most useless powers, who would you pick? The few I've chosen give your pick a run for their money, I'm sure. Take Mr. Immortal. He's not completely useless because he can't die, but what if he wanted to die? That's how he found out about his powers after all, after he tried to control self-delete. But then there's Hindsight Lad. He's basically Captain Hindsight from South Park, being one of the most annoying heroes who turn heel and then back to face. His powers tell you everything you did wrong, which any narcissist could really do. Then we have Phone Ranger. Bro found an alien-infested phone and used it to hack into telecommunication networks anywhere around the world. The only thing he has going for him is that goofy-ass costume that somehow saved him from being dome-tapped by some guy, Scourge of the Underworld. Have you heard of Doorman? Not the guys who stands at doors, but a hero who can morph into a door, allowing anyone to enter an adjacent room. That's almost as useless as Phone Ranger. But I do have a hero even more useless than both of them. Meet Arm Fall Off Boy, or AFOB for short. Who could, you guessed it, rip his arms off and beat goons with them. This is a great transition to the goofy costumes because AFOB's fit is actually disgusting. He didn't rip Starfire's outfit off, he stole her wardrobe and slid 2 extra large studded condoms on his arms. He also looks like he smells really bad, like all the time. And check out Cosmic Boy's outfit. The man makes me feel guilty about calling out Hawkeye's short skirt phase because this guy shows way more skin than Hawkeye and Power Girl combined, and has the audacity to pair gloves with his 1/4 outfit. How does it even stay on? And dear God, something this version of Dr. Fate clearly doesn't like or believe in. After his go in the 90s, he probably had to take a radical sabbatical because this edgy design gives Blackwing's mask a run for its money. Speaking of God, here he is in a Speedo. Well, it's the celestial ego. But he used to wear thongs to battle, and you know he uses cheeky soap because from behind, he's 100% cheeked up. And I have to apologize. Last video, I called out the Grim Reaper's Technicolor suit, but at least he got a recolor to fit his name. Even got a cute little skull on his chest. But I found an even worse colored costume. Meet Captain Ultra. His bright smile pales in comparison to the visual assault of the rainbow he wears. Green and yellow mask, yellow and red armor, green gears and, well, more green, but the worst part to me is the blue. I'm talking blue cape and a whole different tone of blue on his armored trunks. Which I think that's one of the more important places that armor should actually be at. Now we have come to the final entry. My lord, I have saved the best for last. Let's go on a surreal, random, and downright scary journey into the story of Lex Luthor and Porky Pig. Porky Pig had it all. Money, respect, the only other pork rind for a girlfriend. This is all thanks to his crypto, Porky Bucks. It was hype. People were going crazy. Yo, what the f? But literally in the next panel, Porky Bucks crashed because of tariffs or something. Porky would lose everything. His home, his girl, the respect. He's so down bad, he would try to knock himself off, but couldn't go through with it. It's really sad. While Porky deals with that, we see Professor Ivo and Dr. Savannah on trial for raising the price of cancer meds by 1,200%. So that's horrifyingly accurate to real life. This is important, I swear. Just stay with me. You'll see. Back to Porky, he was able to get a job at his favorite restaurant, and that's where he would meet Lex Luthor, whom offers the pig a job to run the social media for Lexima, Luthor's new app for delivering medication. The two would get close, and Lex would even call Porky Double P, and I will refer to him as such. Double P excelled in the job, climbing the ranks and winning the respect of his co-workers, but his peace would be interrupted by a sandwich snagger. He would get the janitor Hector to install alarms on the fridge to catch the thief, but that would just piss everyone off. The sandwiches kept getting snagged, and Double P couldn't find out who was doing it. As that crisis went on, Lex would show off Lexima at a press conference, wearing his best medium shirt and using a picture of Mr. Clean as his profile pic. He would show off the usefulness of the app, but a troll, DD Creeper, would post on the app, asking if Lex had a saggy sausage. Angered, Lex runs up on Double P and blames him for it. DP responds, "Lexima is for everyone. You're bound to get nut punched." Lex claps back, "Don't tell me what I said," taking his anger out on a giant gummy bear. After another failed attempt at catching the snagger with satin-covered sandwiches, look at this lady. She's so distraught over this. He would be asked if maybe Lex was the one stealing them. Double P shoots that idea down, until he sees Lex eating one of the sandwiches. Also, we see Luthor's angle. He wants the passwords to everyone's socials, claiming that would be a chess move. DD Creeper would return, hitting Bald and Sexy with some great insults like, apparently Lex Luthor is uncircumcised, telling Lex he looks like a baby stuffed in a sock. Oh yeah, Lex crashes out, dropping the avatar so he could see who DD Creeper was, and if it wasn't obvious, it was Daredevil. Nah, it was Daffy Duck, or someone cosplaying as him since he looks like he's wearing a shirt and shorts. Lex swears to make ruining Daffy's life his new personal hobby. Now, DP knows Lex is the snagger, but is too chicken shit to confront him. So we see DP's true colors, placing the blame on Hector, and firing him. Quote, "Everybody knew Lex was the one who'd been stealing from them, but unable to do anything about him, we blame the immigrant." Dude, what do you mean we? That was your call, you undercooked chitlin. This would earn Double P, no, he does not deserve that name anymore. This would earn Pig a promotion to vice president. And this was all a setup by Lex. During the final day of the trial, Lexima bought the cancer meds and never lowered the price, so the court wants to send Lex to jail. But he's able to shift the blame to Pig, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Boom, Pig is now in jail, writing this very book we went over. titled Pig and the Pokey, a true story. Why is this story low-key good though? It's absurd, or dare I say loony. DC and Looney Tunes have a few crossovers, but DC will cross over with anything. It has no right to be this funny and this good. I mean, it went from 100 to 1000 in just a few pages. There was never a zero. And out of all the characters to be paired, I never would have expected Lex Luthor and Porky Pig would have a whole story together. Oh my god, there's another one. Thank you for joining me during this fever dream. And I do plan on making more of these because they're really fun for me. And I love sharing the stories that like the Golden and Silver Ages told, because I don't think a lot of people really know them anymore, or at least keep up with them, except for like the major stuff that happens. But I hope to see you all again very soon. That's all, folks.